Click the button. Alrighty, guys, here we are again. We've got another guest on. This time we've got AJ from good old Rockingham.
Hey. What's up, guys?
Halfway down to my hometown. He's the owner of Smith's Fitness down there, and we've been flirting a lot over Instagram and other social medias for the last couple of years, but we've never actually had a sit-down conversation. So, very exciting time for me. I'm not sure if he cares that much, but very exciting for me.
No, I'm excited. I'm excited, man. I'm excited.
So, bro, tell us a bit about your story. We always start off with a bit of a story. So,
I probably should have done a bit of research and watched your other episodes to figure out how much of a story you want. So, are we talking?
No one's ever actually researched any of the other episodes beforehand, man.
I started watching one with is it Sen from Momentum?
Yeah.
I didn't watch the full thing. The story we did this for our first podcast, and it ended up being a 2-hour episode.
I remember listening to it.
You didn't get through it, did you? Jesus.
It took me a couple of car rides.
I've pretty much got a sort of a typical story when it comes to getting into strength and conditioning. Most of us are some sort of athlete to begin with.
Yeah.
Comes with the territory. So rugby was my sport growing up. Rugby and cricket. Originally Rugby League, then went over to Rugby Union. Made a few rep teams. Started university. Doing a bit of travel as well to play rugby. So I went to Queensland, went to the UK a couple of times. Throughout that whole time, sort of started studying, deferred, went back, finished, deferred, that sort of thing. And eventually got my 3-year sports science degree done. Went traveling again, came back and did my 4th year. That's the year that I did with Simon. 4th year in exercise rehab, so you actually become employable as an exercise physiologist, because sorry to say, but the 3-year degree doesn't really mean too much.
Well, I never actually finished mine, so that's my guilty pleasure.
Yeah. So then started working after I finished that, had a bachelor's in exercise rehabilitation, and then started working as a exercise physiologist.
Yep.
And it wasn't quite up my alley. There was a lot of pre-employment medical stuff. There was a little bit of injury rehab, but not enough. And I decided I wanted to be around more athletic populations, which is probably my passion anyway, coming from that rugby background. So I enrolled into my Masters of Strength and Conditioning, finished that Masters while I was overseas again, playing some rugby.
So did you do that in the UK?
No, I did it at ECU.
ECU.
So it was all, apart from, the 2-3 weeks where you're there doing like the intensive practical stuff. It's all by coursework. So it's an easy Masters. When it comes to, you don't have to do research. It's all coursework. But it's a great course. I love that course. So that was like another year on top. So that's like a year and a half on top of the 4 years that we've done already. And then sort of thought I'll just get a gig in pro sport, which doesn't happen very quickly either. So after getting back from England and doing a bit of traveling with my now wife, sort of figured out, I have to start doing my own thing. Started boot camps, started personal training in the garage, and then sort of Smith's Fitness was born from there. So started in a garage, single garage, only my side to start with. And then eventually...
Same here, bro. I started in the old garage at 35 Dodge Street, Wembley. One car, there was a car parked. And then I think I stole Simon's rig from his house.
Yep.
And I set it up on the other side so I could coach clients, so I could do some work with clients in there.
Yep. Same sort of thing. I had my own squat rack. I already had the squat rack, but got a squat rack, got a rower. Eventually it was like, can we park both the cars outside? So both the cars ended up outside. So now we've got a double car park. And then it was like, man. There's a lot of stories behind like stuff that I did to sort of, even still now, piecing together what has become my business. So like I went behind Carpet Call down in Mandurah and got the off carts and carpeted the garage with it. Just some real ghetto shit, basically.
I love that. That's thinking outside the block. Like this is kind of where me and Simon are different. Simon's very in the box, and I'm just like almost too far out the box. So I'll think of an idea and it'd be like so far out of it, he's got to kind of bring it closer to like something that's normal. So like, that's wicked. I love that
So
idea.
stuff like that. And even still now, I was very resourceful to start building the gym that I had.
Yeah.
And then it's just been, I had these big grand goals of I'm going to open this massive gym and like it will all just fall into place. And I spoke to one of the fellas I went and grew up playing rugby with, Lloyd Johnson, who owns Aspire. And I said, like, you know, what can we do? Can we do some sort of partnership? Or I want this big gym. And he sort of said, man, just get a space that, you know, you can get as cheap as you can, maybe for free, a community hall, anything like that. About 2 months after he told me that, and I sort of took his advice on board, and I was like, all right, I got to calm down with my grand goals. The rugby club came along, obviously having the rugby background, and they said, you know, we've got this space, which was a fucked up space. It was like half a hallway and half a change room, and it was all these just weird angles of everything.
Yeah.
But they said, you can have this space. So I think we moved down there. We were there for about 2 years. I had...
Yeah, man. It sounds very familiar to us because, like, when me and Simon first started, we were going like, all right, we're going to have physio, we're going to have S&C, we're going to have like a nutritionist, we're going to have like, you know, all these practitioners, we're going to have a practitioner room.
You know what you would have had? You know what you would have had?
Fremantle.
A fuckload of debt.
A lot of problems.
Yeah.
A hell of a lot of problems. And once you do the maths on it, you go, this is not.
Yeah, you think, well, I was naive back then as well, that you think you build it and people will come.
Yeah.
Not a chance in hell. So that's one thing that I've done really well. And you guys have obviously done really well as well. I think, well, it's not a unique story. A lot of us have done this and sort of built
I think all the ones that survived, you know, all the ones that have actually managed to keep going and have sustainability have done it this way. You know,
yeah. So we moved into the rugby club. Eventually the council was sort of like, you can't really run a business out of here. So we had to sort of put the big boy pants on and go get our first commercial lease. So that was like 200 square meters, stayed there for about 2 years. We outgrew that place. We got the place we're in now, which is 350 square meters. We'll be there for 2 years in end of June. Will be 2 years. I thought that was going to be where we would stay. But it's the right time now it's probably not the right time now. After what's been going on the last couple of months, but it's the right time to move again. And this place, I can't see us ever needing a bigger place than this. So it's like 674 square meters. So nearly double what we've got at the moment. So that's pretty much the story in a very quick nutshell there. So yeah. Sports science.
That's
eventually
good, man.
got it done.
You kept it to 10 minutes, not 2 hours. That's that's impressive.
So just sports science, needed to figure out how to hired myself. And basically we do everything at Smith's Fitness. And I know it's just business people and other sort of fitness business people always say, find your niche. And for me, it's been just coaching anyone who wants to be. Yeah, I know. So that's something that I've sort of struggled with. I was like, do we need to find a niche? Is it powerlifting? What is it? Because we are sort of all over the place with what we do. We do like a boot camp style that has sort of evolved into a watered down version of CrossFit that I just call cross training because that's what it is. Then we've got a powerlifting team that's probably third in the state in terms of numbers and in terms of performance, only behind Ruchi's and Muscle Pit. And we'll be doing very fucking well if we're even mentioned in the same light as gyms like that when it comes to 100%. Powerlifting. So, but in terms of participation, man, we are up there with powerlifting as well. And it's like, do you become this big powerlifting gym? And I don't think that's very wise at all.
I don't think you want to become a big labeled as a big powerlifting gym. You scare 90% of the population off.
I always joke with Dan from Ruchi's that like, no, we're not a powerlifting gym. And he's like, yes, you are. You just don't know it, sort of thing. I was like, well, sort of, yes. When we need to be, we are. And then the other prong is like keeping my exercise physiology involved as well. So doing a little bit of exercise rehab, probably not as much as what I could, but it's something I want to pursue as well. Actually put that degree to use a little bit more. Yeah. And then we've got the strength and conditioning side of it. So do a lot of work with the Rockingham Swimming Club, and they've been a big part of the success of us moving forward.
Yeah.
And even the rugby club as well. So we are all over the place really when it comes to what we do and who we have down there, from complete beginners to competitive athletes.
I've got a question about Rocco. Did they contact you or did you contact them?
They contacted me.
Yeah, I think I might have given you the tip for that.
Oh, nice.
Because it was
awesome. It was Will Scott back probably 3 and a bit years ago.
Yeah, maybe not. But you've got Brooke there, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah, so I know Brooke quite well because I'm a down south kid. She was coach at Buston when I was swimming.
Okay.
And I used to do a lot of work with the Buston guys when they travelled up. And I was like, I got a message from her one day and I went, and she was like, hey, is there anywhere, I'm getting this gig up in Rocco, like, what can you guys do? I was like, look, I can't come to Rockingham, but I know I've heard of this guy. He sounds legit. Go check him out. So maybe, I'm not going to claim it, but
we were already working with them. So we had,
so there you go.
So I'm not sure who was the head coach, but
is that with Will? Or was that before Will?
I think it was Will, and then he wanted to step away from doing all the gym stuff as well because he's actually ASCA level 1 qualified. Yeah. So he was sort of like, I just want to be the swimming coach, and he was doing a lot more with waist at the time as well.
Yeah, because he's a waist high performance coach at the moment. So
so he sort of set us up, and that was like all the kids, and it was crazy to start with because it was like all these kids were there, and a lot of them weren't there, really for the right reasons. And now the squad is a lot more focused now, and Brooke has them running like a well-oiled machine.
How good's Brooke?
Those kids I always sort of say I want my kids to grow up like that, but hopefully they don't choose swimming as their sport. I don't want to have to get up any earlier, man.
Nah, Brooke's awesome, eh?
Yeah, man.
So she gets it as well. She just tells you what you want and lets you do it.
We've been ripping in the last sort of 6 weeks. She put together a program for the kids over over this sort of COVID break, and so I was doing the online, so doing Zoom sessions with the kids and getting them to do some body weight sessions and all that sort of stuff. But always looking to push those kids in the right directions. Like I said, the swimming club's been a massive part of our success. Clubs
are great, man. Like they're good when they're right, So like when we first started doing the swimming guys, we had like the St Hilda's guys, and that sounds very similar to what you were saying about the whole Rocco crew turning up at your gym.
Yeah. It was just we had to set some standards and stuff, The
whole of St Hilda's turn up into our Fremantle gym. Have you seen the Fremantle gym?
Yeah.
The whole club. Like it's like 30 kids in there. That was a learning curve, man, trying to manage 30 kids in one room.
Because half of them are climbing up the walls and you're trying to explain something. And
half of them are lifting too heavy, half of them aren't lifting at all. And then there's like this weird portion of them that's like, I know I've just said half and half, but there's another portion of them that's just not lifting it, don't understand that they need to lift a little bit more. And it's like a lot of stuff going on at once. It's like a massive 1 to 30 ratio.
You learn very quickly in that setting. And we have it like it's
a pressure cooker, man.
Yeah, it's run really well now. And when I first started, I was with them especially. It's very quick. It's very easy to get too involved in the sports science of things and trying to do everything absolutely perfectly when you have to do things practically first. And I had this conversation with a couple of boys in the gym this morning about training even youngsters and a big group, because a lot of the time all the gold standards aren't going to happen, and you have to sort of take what you can get.
Yeah, exactly. And swimming's another prime population group where they're not very stereotypically not very coordinated. Their shoulders are all weird, hips are all weird because they're doing all this they're so they're either way too mobile or they're not mobile enough, and they shouldn't be you got to get the mobility back in them, and it's just it's a crazy sport, man. It's like a lot of other sports. It's just a crazy sport, and all the propulsion points are different.
I'm going to say I would not choose it as my first sport to do strength coaching for.
Yeah,
Maybe
well,
I should, because now I've got the most experience doing it. But
yeah.
yeah,
I love it, man. I love the difference that you get from it. Like the point of difference to any other sport, like how you got to think like propulsion point is in the hands, not the feet, like stuff like that. And
I,
not trying to
I like
overcomplicate,
to
but just fixing them. They're also busted.
um, one of the main things that I always come back to is that what we're doing with them is to make them better swimmers. And I always have to stress that. Well, I always do stress that this isn't to turn them into gym rats or,
100%.
weightlifters or anything like that. So they'll do stuff that looks like weightlifting, that looks like powerlifting. They're squatting, they're pulling off the floor. Haven't had them benching because there's no need to. But yeah, I always harp on like, this is for you. And even if all they get out of their S&C is that they're injury free, it's worth
100%.
it.
That's what I've been telling day dot, man. Day dot. Whatever performance benefits we get out of this is going to be the result of them not being busted and maybe being a bit stronger.
Yeah.
Like,
because the amount of work they get. So my guys do during like when swimming's on, they'll do 2 45-minute sessions in the gym with me. They might do some deck work, and they might do one other sort of body weight type of session with limited load. In those 2 45-minute sessions, what impact I have is very minimal compared to what they're doing in the pool. Yeah. And even that's minimal compared to what they're doing outside of that: sleep, nutrition,
in their life,
schooling, in their life, all that sort of stuff. So,
and their kids.
Yeah.
Like, holy moly, these guys are kids. So there's like everyone seems to forget that. As soon as you deal with athletes, they forget like these guys might be like, especially young athletes, they're like, oh, they're athletes. They have to be an athlete. It's like, nah, they're kids, man. You got to first fix the problems that they're going to have as a kid before you can even think about like their sport, because they're going to probably twist their ankle at some stage. So you probably should have some ankle stability in there.
Well, yeah, one thing that I've sort of focused on is also, whilst we want them to do better and lift more weight and be stronger, the same sort of thing applies with, if I can make them more confident in their ability, that might have just as much a positive benefit to them on their performance as them lifting 10 kilos more in a trap bar lift. So that's part of what I've started to focus on as well, because sometimes they'll come in and they don't really, they're not there. They've got a million other things going on. And you just want to sort of not just pump them up, but you want to give them the confidence that, they're putting in the hard work and that they should be confident that they can perform. And for me, I feel like that is just as important as putting 5 kilos on their lifts.
100%. And you're like, I was almost always the good guy. Like, I'm the good guy in the coaching relationship. Like, the SEC guy is the good guy.
I was going to say, is Simon the nice guy?
No. God, no. Not Simon. Like me and their pool coach. The things they couldn't. They were maybe like, they're too afraid to tell their swim coach, or they're actually just like beaten up, and they're just like, I'm so tired. I'm just like, okay, sweet. I will communicate this with the coach for you, because like sometimes that's a bit scary for athletes. So a lot of the time you end up being like the nice coach. The S&C coach is the nice coach.
I would say I do.
I've never been a nice coach in my life.
I always err on the side of caution with them, because their other work is more important.
100%.
Their swimming based work, like we complement the swimming. So for me, it's about building their capacity, making sure that they're not injured, and building them up so they have, the capacity to deal with what their swimming coach throws at them. Yeah,
we're very much the supplementary service in the equation, and we're almost like the supplementary to the supplementary service in the equation, but done really well, huge amount of value. Amazing.
I think swimming does that pretty well. Obviously, directing clubs to get in touch with like ASCA level 2 coaches and getting strength coaches in. So you look across the board at clubs across the state. I know like Rockingham's, like I'm their strength coach. You do St Hilda's and a couple of others, don't you?
We're not with St Hilda's at the moment, but we're all over the place. So I don't work officially with clubs anymore. Athletes come now. They now come to us instead.
Well, that's awesome, man.
much better. Gives us much more control over it. What's a lot less stressful. So they come to us for it, and then I communicate with the coaches because I was in swimming for 16 years as a competitor. Like I know all these coaches. Most of these coaches I swam. Like some of these coaches I swam with. So like we're pretty a lot of them we know quite well. So same with Simon. So like we've got that relationship. So normally we just get a coach ring us up and say, look, I'm just sending this guy to you.
Yeah, I think it is implemented pretty well though.
Yeah,
like
I think it's
from the top
better.
down, especially for a sport where obviously it's beneficial, but you don't think, oh, they're going to be in the gym, putting in the hard yards, as opposed to sports, athletics, rugby, footy, which gets fucking half-assed most of the time when it comes to off-field preparation. I think it comes down from the top. If you want to be a competitive swimming club, this is what you should be doing. You should be, hiring these sort of guys. I think it's done well from the top down.
You need to start looking at it and getting it done properly. And it's like over the last 5 years, it's improved drastically, I think.
Yeah.
In swimming. And
that's sort of our job as S&C coaches, to promote our profession to those other sporting, sporting codes.
Exactly.
Because it's obviously at the professional level, they get it, but everyone else, sort yourself out.
Yeah. All righty, buddy. Tell me about this new funky facility you got going on, mate. I've seen the video.
Well,
talk to me. What's going on there?
What's going on there is it's going to be a bigger version of what we've got now, more space, and we're going to put a bit of focus into our cross training, a little bit more focus into our cross training. So that's the biggest change in terms of the actual space. So we will have what would it be? Nearly 200 square meters of turf in there, which is the same size as the first gym.
It's more turf than our gym, both our gym spaces.
Yep. So that'll be all turf, and that is for our cross training and our squad training. So obviously, swimmers, rugby clubs, do a bit with some basketball groups as well. Just giving them the space that they need to do athletic shit. So they've got nearly an inside field.
Yeah.
Like it's only 200 square meters, so it's going to end up being what is it, 8 by 16 or something?
Yeah, but it's still good.
Yeah, close enough to 200 square meters.
Good amount of space to do. You jump in, you land in, your agility work,
all that sort of stuff.
I
feel like that's an important aspect of the gym.
Yeah,
that people miss out on. So they want to be agile. They want to jump and change direction really well in their sport, but then they never really train that unless they're doing their sport.
Yeah.
So for me, that's important. We've got about 8 by 14 at the current place, so we're going to make it a little bit bigger. Then we've got a cross training section, which is going to look like a CrossFit box, that part basically.
Yeah.
So that'll be 2 CrossFit rigs. Then we've got all our powerlifting stuff. So we'll have 1 or 2 monoliths, 3 or 4. So 4 IPF spec benches. And then 3 deadlift platforms. Obviously, we've got the space to ollie lift and all that as well.
Yeah.
So we are really like I said, we sort of have the space to do everything now that we've ever wanted. The new space, really, the reason for the move is the facility that we're in now doesn't have the potential to grow us. So if we grew, say, 50%, we'd be up shit's creek with stuff like parking, like toilets. Like we have the ability to put a creche in this place if we need to.
Yeah,
it'll probably just be a kids area.
Because you're on peak times, man. From what I've seen, it's pumping.
Yeah, so that's one thing we've had to sort of dial back a little bit, given the 20-person restrictions. Most of the time, we don't have 20 people in there. You would know as a gym owner, there's a lot of time where you're sort of twiddling your thumbs, and then the next hour could be everyone's in. So there is that real dead time, but our sort of peak time, 4:30 till sort of 6:30, we've had to spread out a little bit. So we don't have 20 people in there. And man, we've got don't tell the council, but we've got 3 car parks.
Nice.
So we're going to go from that 3 to God knows how many we got now.
Don't get us started on parking.
Yeah,
My God,
I bet it's way worse up there. So yeah, it's just got the potential, man. This new space.
Good.
So yeah, I've got 3 weeks. I'm hoping to have it open for the next restrictions being lifted.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
have you, along with the new gym coming out, have you started a running club, or is that just a shirt?
It's just a shirt, basically.
Because you are a crazy man with some of the stuff you've done. Like, I look at the stuff you've done, I go like, man, I can't do that. I couldn't do that. I couldn't be bothered
I
doing
feel
that.
like I feel like I haven't started. No, I've only done one ultra. I've only done one ultra.
So you've done the one ultra.
There's more on the cards.
And then you went into a powerlifting comp, and now you're running big Ks again.
Well, it sort of went. So rugby, and then like while I was still playing rugby, I like started powerlifting. Probably did 3 or 4, maybe a few more comps than that. I actually broke my wrist skateboarding, and it sort of made me. Well, I couldn't really lift heavy for too long. So I sort of started getting into a little bit more conditioning, dropping a little bit of body weight because I got up to about 106 kilos, I think. And then I started running. I have done a couple of little powerlifting comps in there in between just to sort of, I don't know, get around the crew. And I'd sort of do like maybe like 6.
What weights?
I've got down to, so one of my comps I did at 106.
Because you've been really lean at one point. Like,
the last one I did at 89. So I weighed in at 89. But yeah, you can't lift as much when you're not as heavy, which sucks.
It makes you frustrated.
So yeah, I did. I powerlifted at the start of was it this year? Yeah,
I think so.
I did a comp. I just did like a 6 to sort of 8 week prep. It's just fun for me. Like I'm not, not setting the world on fire with any of the lifting I'm doing, but it's just fun for me to challenge myself. And I feel it's not a big drama. And, a lot of people, they'll sort of take, it'll be the highlight of their sort of 6 months to do a powerlifting comp. For me, I'm just like,
you just turn it up.
Sometimes I feel like I'll just do it. Yeah. Because I'm not, even if I put my foot down and really focused on it, it doesn't come naturally to me to be super strong or anything like that. In terms of powerlifting, if that makes sense. And I also feel a lot better and feel a lot more. I don't know. What would you say? I just feel a little bit better being at sort of a lower body weight and being fitter.
Yeah.
I don't know. But that's just now. Like in 2 years' time, I might be back powerlifting. It might be 10 kilos heavier. Who knows?
Mate,
So yeah, the last couple of years have been a bit of everything. So I did like a adventure race. I did my first ultra last year, which was 53 Ks. And then
when during that did you go, oh, what am I doing?
16 Ks in when I got both my quads cramping. Yeah. There was one bit, like I was like, I know all I have to do is just keep moving. It's going to take forever anyway. It's going to fucking suck. But I was not expecting to be fully cramped, both quads, 16 Ks in. Yeah, was not good. And it was purely because I sort of tracked behind another guy and I barely ran up this hill. So ultra running, if you haven't done one, there's a lot of walking. There's a lot of hiking. The terrain dictates a lot of how fast you're going and how fast you should go. So I probably pushed the pace. I'm going to say maybe a couple 100 meters up an incline, a couple 100 meters. And I look back and I was like, that's probably what I did. And it fucked me up. But I battled through, man. It was a battle. But I feel so much better.
52 Ks, man. It's going to be a battle.
Feel so much more accomplished doing something like that than a powerlifting comp. And that's the way I feel at the moment about it, but it could definitely change. Yeah.
You're mad. And were you on Instagram the whole time as well?
Yeah, I was doing a story.
Yeah, your front story's up the whole time as well.
Yeah. I've watched it back since, and it's I don't know, man. I was deep in some emotions. I'm not normally in a
progression there. You
you sort of see like, oh yeah, this is going to be fun.
I remember watching it and I was like, how long is this hyper activity going to? And then there was one point, I think you were chewing on a snake or something, and you're just like, it's not happening.
Yeah, man. Nah, I love that shit. I want to do a lot more of it. It's just the I got two babies now, 2 young'uns. So it's just the trying to get the time to
you just
do
had
everything.
the next one, haven't you?
Yeah, so Freddie is 4
What a
months
name.
old. 4 months old? 5 months old yesterday.
What a
apparently.
name, Freddie.
Yeah, Freddie and Lenny. Lenny's a girl. Yeah, so she's two and a bit.
So have you changed because your Instagram name used to be Lenny's dad or something, didn't it?
Yeah, the old personal one. I haven't changed it yet, hey. I need to. I haven't got a tattoo for him either. I got Lenny tattooed on my calf. I haven't tattooed Freddie yet.
I'm not sure about this one then.
I need to change the so that's like my non-gym, if you call it that, Instagram. But yeah, I know I need to change it.
Talk to me about your skating, man. Did you ever compete or anything, or you're just a street rat?
Yeah, just that's the Rockingham side of me, bro.
Yeah. Are you from Rocco?
Grew up here, yeah. Grew up here.
And played rugby in WA.
Yeah, well.
How was the scene back there? Because I used to try and play it down south, and that wasn't fun.
I spent 2 years in Townsville when I was a kid.
Okay.
So I was like 6 and 7.
Yeah.
This is before the Cowboys were a team.
Yeah.
So it was all Brisbane Broncos.
Yeah.
Even though it's ages away. So yeah, I started playing league there, came back and played league until I was about 14. But the rugby league back then, so that was for the mighty Rockingham Raiders. It sort of dwindled down and start playing like the same 4 teams every year.
Yeah, man. So I've got a story for you. I was a part of the inaugural competition of Rugby Union in the Southwest.
Oh, yep.
Guess how many teams there were?
There would have been. Are you Bunbury?
No, I was Busso Jets. I lived in Bunbury, but I was Busselton Jets.
There would have been a Margaret River team.
The Dun Beetles didn't have a young team, kids team. So it was the Busselton Jets. It was a brand new club just with our team.
Yep.
Yeah. And we played every week against Bunbury, the Bunbury team. I think they're Barbarians. Bunbury Barbarians, maybe.
Yeah, I think it is.
I think it is, yeah. And it was supposed to be an under-16 comp, but half their team at the end of this first season got banned because they were 18-year-olds. It's a bunch of 18-year-old Maori boys just like beating up a bunch of under-16s.
Yeah, I don't think there's definitely not a Bustleton team anymore.
No, I don't think there is.
Yeah, so
around, but
about 15 years of age, I swapped over with one of my mates from cricket. We were playing both for a little while, league and union, and then the league sort of, the competition wasn't as much, and then both our school teams were playing union as well, so it was time to move over, and then after that we sort of start making rep teams, and so we stayed with the union. Yeah,
so that was my 15-year-old me and 16-year-old me.
Yeah.
16-year-old team, the 16-year-olds, we had another team join, freaking Australind. Can't remember what they called themselves. I don't know if they might not be. I think that might be the Bunbury Barbarians. Who knows, man? It's all weird. It's all weird. And there was 3 teams, I'm pretty sure like my team, the Busselton Jets, struggled to field 15 people.
Yep.
Most weeks. The Bunbury team had, probably 2 squads of overage Maoris.
Yep.
And the Australian team had a full company of South Africans. So it was like the Tri-Nations down there.
Yeah, that sort of competition gets very old very quickly.
Yeah, it was 2 years, one and done. Yeah, it was pretty quick. But that's it was a tough gig, man. As someone who's like a real rugby fan, like real big rugby fan, it was real. Not like you're just so keen to play some rugby.
Yeah.
You got 2 seasons against the same dudes, and most of them are overage, and you're just like, this sucks, man. Like,
that's what you get for living down there, mate.
Oh, here we go. There's going to be a bit of regional rivalry going on in a second.
Yeah.
No. It's all sweet. So, what's my next question? That's a good point. What have we got? We've done your story. Yeah. Talked a bit about you. Talked a bit about swim. Talked about your new place.
Oh, I think you asked about skateboarding, to be fair.
Yeah, tell me about some skateboarding.
I didn't really answer you.
Because I'm a big fan of Tony Hawk, pro skater, but that's as far as my skating life went.
Oh, yeah. Mate, it's just something that I've always done, and I've always just enjoyed it. My brother surfs and skates, and he's 5 years older than me, so when you're younger, you listen to the same music as your older brother, and you do what your older brother does. So it's always just been that little hobby that I could do that was got me away from worrying about rugby. So rugby was a big thing from sort of 14 onwards. The goal was, to be professional, and it was all about, doing everything you can. So skateboarding was that sort of, call it an escape.
Yeah.
And it was something that I had.
Switched your brain off.
Yeah. So I didn't have to worry too much about it. You could do what you wanted with it. Whereas rugby, you would worry about mistakes, and you'd be worrying about, opposition and, being the best in your position and making the state team and all that sort of stuff. Whereas skateboarding, you could just do what you want. You still can. And it's even now, it's still a good sort of reset button for me. You can go worry less about everything else, focus on, making a trick or just having fun. And back then it was something I had in common with my mates as well, because they weren't all rugby players.
Yeah, man.
And then I sort of picked it back up. Once rugby sort of, when I got back from, I sort of done bits and pieces, and then I get back from Europe the last time, and I just sort of started back up again. Given that rugby was not as big a focus, I wasn't too worried about injuries and all that sort of stuff. And then, I broke my wrist.
Actually, because I remember you were going around with a bloody cast for ages, weren't you?
Had a cast, had a couple of surgeries on it and that sort of thing. But
so what do you do?
It's all good now.
You just broke it? Like broke both, or?
Oh, I broke. What did I do? A bit of the fibula. Now I'm trying to think. I got a screw through the scaphoid still, screw and a plate through the fibula. Everyone that sort of said that saw it was like, that is a nightmare. That's a wreck. Because it wasn't normally it's just a scaphoid injury. The old hand out.
Palm down.
Palm down, just sort of falling on it. But I sort of fell, and it was like underneath me. But I smashed my rehab for it. So I can.
That was my next question. How's your wrist now? Do you still get most out of it?
100%. Clean and jerk. Front squat. Yeah, because I did my rehab. Like I put my skills to practice, sort of thing.
Well, what did you do?
Man, that's the.
How do you rehab the wrist?
Firstly, I went and saw a hand therapist. Which was great because that's what they deal with. So they do your cast. They call it a cast. I forget the name of it. The little black, plasticky sort of thing. And then they take you through, your rehab stuff, which I knew a fair bit about anyway. So it was like, the eccentric contractions with the TheraBand. They got me on a gyroscope. Had like a pull cord, and then you'd hold it, and then you'd like try and keep it moving.
You gotta do like that,
keep it moving. For me, the big one was getting back my range of motion, because they were saying like that's what's going to be limited. So I did a lot of banded distractions and voodoo flossing, which I always say like, the science is a little bit like, is this just one of those things that Kelly Starrett sort of said, let's do it, so everyone ran with it? But I actually did a lot of it and got that full range of motion back. So like hand on the ground, band distraction with the voodoo floss around the wrist as well. Did heaps of that sort of stuff. And awesome. I rated it. It was just the voodoo floss especially just made it less painful to be in the end range of motion.
Yeah.
I hope that makes sense.
Can you explain that for everyone else?
To you it will. So when that's my broken wrist, and you can sort of see a little bit of how it's a little bit mung still, but there is plates and stuff in there still. So when I was back here after doing it, it would be like painful and restricted. So then I would voodoo floss, which is, let me grab one. I'll go on right here.
Over it.
Look at that. Is one of those.
Yes.
Which is brand new because I haven't even unrolled it yet.
Compression bands,
Yeah, like a compression band. So
we just got heaps of them, man.
So that went around my wrist like that, like pretty tight. Not so tight that it was uncomfortable. And then taking the wrist into that full end range motion, it felt more supported, and it just wasn't painful as taking it through that range without it.
You go really tight with those?
Not super tight.
You're not going super tight?
Not super tight, because I would have it on for like a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
And there's all theories behind that, which is way over my head when it comes to the science behind it, whether it's ischemic therapy. For me,
Yeah,
it was
because
just,
you do the tight wrap and then you do the range of motions in it, and you break down you break down the tissue or whatever to get the range of motion in it. You can do it a lot with ankles and stuff like that.
yeah.
And I did it to
So,
Simon's ankle once, and like Simon's got this munted ankle. Yeah, he can't squat because of it. He's literally got
yep,
this munted ankle. We did it to him. We're learning about it at a course, and we did it, and he's got about that much. Like
yep,
doesn't get over toe. Yeah. And then we
yep.
did that, gave it the old like twisty twists and stuff. Honestly, man, he went like,
Yeah. Yeah, there's something to it. And like I always say, like, I don't know the ins and outs of the actual physiology that's happening at the cell level or anything like that. But I know that helped. So when people come to me, I feel like ankles and wrists is probably going to be where I'd go with it. I've chucked it on a few knees and that sort of thing when they just get a little bit grindy, a little bit tendinitis-y. When people have that sort of non-specific pain around their sort of knee, I sort of chuck that on, move it through your range of motion. You're gonna train anyway. Just see how it goes.
Have you tried it on almost hip level, so upper thigh, and then go through squat range with it?
Nah, haven't done it up there.
Give it a
more
go.
So just joints. In my experience.
Yeah, give that a go, because like stuff like adductor magnus, I've found that can really fix it up. If you do that and then get yourself in a band stretch.
Yeah.
With that.
Nice. Yeah. So that was a big part of my rehab, really. And then haven't fallen on it since. I've adopted the old wrist guard look, the old man skateboarder look, with the wrist guard. So yeah.
Awesome, man. That's good. It's good to see that you got that's actually like a crazy amount of it's not that much different from the other one.
Yeah, it does look a little bit.
It looks a bit fat.
Like it's deformed here, sort of fat there, but the range of motion, like I've clean and front squat as much as I ever have since. So
sweet, man. I want to take you back to your rugby days in the UK because I find that interesting. I've heard you talk about it a little bit. I want to hear about that because I think that's cool. How was firstly, what position do you play? Who do you play for? And how's the old S&C in the UK back then?
All right. So I did 3 trips to the UK playing rugby.
Yeah.
First one, it would have been 2005. So I was in the first Western Force Academy. I got cut from that after the first year. So me and one of the other boys who also got cut, we went to Bristol, started training with the Bristol team who were in the Premiership at that point. I think they're back in it now.
Is that the Bears?
They weren't the Bears then, though. It was just Bristol Rugby. But yeah, that's that. Yeah. So that team, we started training with them in their academy. They didn't sort us out or anything. We just sort of hit them up and was like, "Hey, can we come and train?" And just sort of went like, "Oh, we're in the Western Force Academy," and they said, "Yeah, but we're not,
we're not contracting you."
Yeah, no, nothing like that. So we stayed with my mate's grandma. In Bristol, trained with them, played for a local team, which is sort of like a feeder team. That was the first trip. So nothing really became of that. So that was like, all right, we haven't really made it.
What was your plan behind that? What you just got a contact detail, send them a message, pull over, or do you just turn up on the doorstep and say, "Hey, boys"?
Yeah, a bit of both. Like a bit of both. We sort of said we're going to come over, and will you let us train? And they're like, "Yep. Sweet, you can train." It's sort of like a trial.
Probably thinking that you weren't going to come.
Yeah. It was pretty random because I was only 19. So yeah, we went across because back then, and even still now, if you're not in a super rugby setup, you're just playing club rugby.
Yeah.
So we were in the super rugby setup. We both got dropped. We weren't going to be in the setup for the next year. So we're like, we'll go try a hand over there. And the levels of professionalism over there, there's just more to it. Yeah. So you can play for pretty average teams and play pretty average rugby and still be getting some sort of income and sort it out. Yeah. So we weren't. So we went and played over there. We trained a little bit with Bristol in their academy. We trained. We played at Clifton. After about 6 months, Yeah, after about 6 months, I decided to go and play in Bournemouth as well for Oak Medians. So a couple of guys who I met, it was Christmas time. Yeah, it was Christmas time. I met over Christmas with a mutual friend. So I had nowhere to go for Christmas. So he came down from Manchester. He was playing up there at the time. He picked me up. We went down to Bournemouth on a road trip, met the boys from Bournemouth, had a blast over Christmas. And then they said, like, you know, if you want to come down here and play, there's a bed for you. So
Sick.
eventually, so I went from sleeping on a futon in my mate's grandma's room, grandma's house, to
your grandma's room. Ooh,
no, the grandma's house, to the spare bed in the living room at Oak Medians Rugby Club. That was a sick setup because the rugby club was actually above the field. So there's the apartment was above the rugby club, which was above the field, built into the side of this hill. So that was awesome. Did a lot of growing up there. By that, I mean drinking beer. And then eventually came home to...
As you do when playing rugby.
Yeah, exactly. So eventually came home and started to study again and play Prems in Perth again. Did a quick little trip over to play pretty much a full season in Queensland Premier Grade as well.
Yep.
Came back a little bit more uni and then went to Durham. So that was the second trip, was to Durham in the northeast of England. That was good. They flew us over, gave us, you know, a pretty sweet gig, got us jobs, paid our bills. And that was like time of my life there. I went over with my two best mates that we played, that I played Prems with at Rockingham. I stayed there. If it wasn't for the weather, I would have stayed for 2 full years. So played one season. We did pretty well. They wanted us to stay, and then started the second season. And it was just, every game was just getting frozen pitches. And
I'm from the UK, and I can tell you right now, I'm so happy I live here.
Yeah. But that was time of my life, man. I love Durham. It's got I'm very fond of that place. And hopefully we'll get back there again. So yeah, that was the second trip. Time of my life. The level of rugby, that was probably the lowest level of rugby. That was only Northeast 1 at the time.
Yep.
We did all right. We played for Durham County. Did pretty well. That was playing, I normally play scrum half, but that was playing mostly in the centres.
Yep. So you're that guy. You're that guy, the scrum half.
Yeah, but I'm the scrum half that's like, people wonder, is this a lock playing scrum half? Because I'd be
quite tall, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm about 6'3", and everyone else that's played scrum half is about 5'5".
5'5".
Yeah, so all my sort of growing up, it was all at scrum half, and then bits of fly half, and then just sort of anywhere in the backs. And the last couple of seasons was sort of everywhere. So yeah, that was the second trip, and then the third trip was to a place called Malden Park in Darlington, again in the northeast. And that was probably the most professional of the gigs. So that was National 2 at the time. We actually won promotion that season, so they went up to National 1. I think they're still in National 1, so really pushing. That was that was an awesome setup. So that was match fees. They flew me there and back.
So that's like that's like the like the highest level you got to.
Yeah, so that was sort of semi-professional. Yeah. And that would be better than the Premier Grade in Perth. Yeah. Probably on par with Premier Grade in Brisbane.
Yeah.
But I played them that was nearly 10 years apart. But yeah, it was just the level of professionalism from like just the organisation point of view. Like you're going on bus trips down the country. Most of the guys are getting paid. Some of the guys are pretty much full time. Like I was PTing and stuff over there as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're getting a match fee, like no rent, all that sort of stuff. So that was sort of like the best gig I got. And I went over with Kelly, my wife then. So we spent pretty much played the full season. Seasons are longer over there, and then just went and travelled. So we sort of used it as a diving board to get into Europe. Yeah.
Awesome, man.
That's pretty much the rugby side of things, man.
So you're PTing over there as well at the same time. Was that your first bit of PT?
Yeah, pretty much. I tried to do a little bit here while I was studying, but nothing sort of caught hold. I did a little bit with HBF, some sort of health coaching, and I did the very first like fitness in the park stuff. What do they call it now?
Oh, the HBF. Yeah,
how they only had it.
Crazy boot camps.
Yeah, that shit. So, oh man,
50-1 ratios and stuff
dude,
like that.
nah, man, nah. We did the first ones, and they were on. I sound old saying this. They were on the Esplanade before it was. What's it called now?
I don't know.
Victoria Key.
Yes.
Elizabeth Key.
Elizabeth Key.
Yeah. When there was
The
a
other
park
queen.
there. Yeah. When there was a park there, man. So HBF was like, all right, 5 o'clock or whatever it was, you can come down. If you're a HBF member, you come down for a free session. Man, it was like a wave of locusts or something. It was that just walked out of the city, like across that. I don't even know what road it was, but just walked out of the city onto that park. And there was me and Max, and we were like, that was it. It was just like,
you're like, shit, we've got to change our program, man.
Man, the first sessions would have been nearly 100-1. Because that was before they had all the locations. It was just there. That was the only spot. So the whole CBD that was HBF members was just like, sweet. So that was like a baptism of fire, man.
Right? Like the insurance company doing 100-1 sessions. Like
it was just mental.
What's that about?
It was mental. No equipment, no nothing.
Yeah, just like outdoor boot camp bodyweight.
Dude, I was running fitness grids and stuff. They were like, "What is this?" Like, I was putting them through intervals and shit. There's not much more you could do, man.
No.
Yeah, it was. So that was like pretty much the extent of my coaching before I went to, the UK, and then I sort of got a gig as a PT in Middlesbrough, which was an eye opener to the commercial side of things.
How was your initial experiences as a PT, man? Like, what dumb mistakes did you make? Because people make a lot.
I feel like I probably made those dumb mistakes myself training before I got hold of anyone, if that makes sense, because I'd been training since I was sort of like probably about 12, 13, training to be a better athlete.
Did you have a PT or did you figure it out all yourself?
I did it all myself, but I was lucky enough sort of from the age of 15. Was it being under 15? Yeah, about under 15s, there was a Rugby WA academy at Wace.
Oh, nice.
There was the Rugby WA, the basement.
Yeah.
So that's where I started sort of getting properly coached, like S&C coaches. So I was 15 then. Before that, I would have done a little bit myself on the old like Orbit home setup. Yeah. So from about 15 onwards, I've had pretty decent strength coaches. Did a little bit with an Olympic lifting coach. So that Rugby WA Academy was before the Force came in, and then we went into the Force Academy as well. So I was pretty lucky as a junior. So from like 15 to sort of 19, I had pretty decent coaches helping me out.
Whew, that's pretty lucky of you.
Yeah, so I feel like I made those mistakes by myself before, because I was sort of like 26-ish when I started actually PTing.
Or you kind of had like a mentor that could kind of tell you that was dumb not to do that.
Yeah, so not too many sort of mistakes. Always been a stickler for, making sure people know what they're doing technique-wise, not getting too married to intensity, all that sort of stuff. Man. But some people love that, and some people enjoy it. And I feel like if that's the reason you're doing it, sometimes that's okay. So that's where we need intensity. Like we do cross training sessions, and I sort of say to some people, they might have certain like injury history or, certain ailments. They might mention it. And I say, well, this probably isn't the setting that you want to be doing your exercise, but they enjoy it. They like the social side of things. They can modify things. Obviously we modify things for their ability. And sometimes you've got to say like, all right, fun can be a reason to be doing stuff as well.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, they are like, at least they're making a healthy choice.
Yeah. Well, and this is more so for like general population as well.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Because that's kind of what we and Simon say. We're very like, I'm very anal on technique and like movement correction. Like, you must be movement competent before you load, and you must be able to lift, competently with speed before you progress your exercises. Yeah. Like, I'm all about minimizing risk versus reward, all that crap. But then, at the end of the day, some people just want an outdoor boot camp, and that's absolutely fine, man. As well.
That's it. People, it's just the reason. Yeah, the reason that you're doing it is if you're doing it for a specific reason and you can justify what you're doing, then sometimes, you know, the stuff that in a different context might look fucking useless is actually like applicable and practical.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
and you're getting a result out of it anyway. And you know what, you can probably start sneaking some stuff in there that they probably weren't that accepting of before, but you know, you've already got them in, so you can kind of do your job anyway.
Exactly, man. Exactly.
So like our Saturdays are a stickler for that. Like you get the guys who are just there to like, you know, they wait, or there are members who get their programs and they kind of wait. They're like, okay, I'll do the membership just so I can do the Saturday session and like ramp it at Saturday. So we're making sure they're getting all like, you know, their prehab work in, their injury reduction work, like all that crap in, making sure they're movement competent, and then they can go smash themselves in the park, you know, like because
you know they're going to do it. They're going to do it anyway.
They're going to do it anyway, and most of the time they're running 20. Like they're trying to overtrain anyway.
From a business owner's point of view, you'd rather them do it with you than do it with someone else. So
100%.
if you sort of have to cater for their needs as well. And like I said, obviously this is all within reason. You're not going to put people under risk that doesn't need to be there. But it's more when I look back at what might look silly from the outside or from, you know, in a different context, sometimes it's justified when you're there and you understand the context of where you are. Yeah.
And for me, I see that as well. Like I've got a, you know, I look back and go like, why the hell was I doing that? But then I remember at the time I had, you know, I didn't just throw that exercise in there for nothing. I had a reason behind it. There was a plan behind it, you know, and, you know, they got results. Yes, I'm better now because we're all getting better as we go on. So I didn't do that before, but yeah, or I do it differently now. But you know, at the time, if you can justify what you're doing, and if someone comes up to you and goes, okay, why are you front squatting that person? Oh, because X, Y, you know? Yeah. This reason. Okay, well, fine. What you can't ask for anymore. They've thought about it.
A nice, easy one is, and we haven't done them in a while just because of the setup at the gym we're at now, but like tire hits with a sledgehammer. And like you look at it and from like a scientific or like a sports science point of view, you're like, it's not really doing much. Like if we're conditioning, there's a lot better ways to do conditioning. Are we doing, we're doing it for like
swinging this dumb hammer around and then like the hammer's normally too heavy for them because like,
are we doing it for like an abs movement? There's probably better ways and better abs exercises to do. And someone might say exactly the same thing. So, man, why are you doing these stupid hammer hits with people? And I'll be like,
they look sick.
Girls, the girls ask me to do them and they enjoy it. And that can be like...
And that keeps their compliance high and their attendance high and all those other things high. Like if you give them a little bit, you're going to get a lot out of it.
So it's easy to get a little bit high and mighty in like our looking down on what certain people are doing. And yes, there's definitely cowboys out there. We all know that, but it's sort of, you got to take into the account the context. And if someone says, because it's fun, if it's safe enough to a certain degree, man, that's a good enough reason.
Yeah, man, I 100% agree with you. Like, I don't want to keep it too much longer. You did say an hour, and I think that's a real good place to end it. Thank you.
Too easy.
Thank you for having this initial conversation with me and allowing me to record the first ever conversation that we had.
Yeah. No, all good, man. Well, I suppose I'll take the time to say, you know, you guys are ripping in, and I'll sort of, you guys have exactly the same vibe that we're going for down here. You guys are obviously doing the right things. And fucking keep ripping in. And you're going through the same stuff that I've gone through, and I've gone through the same stuff you've gone through from a business point of view. So, if you ever need a hand or, you know, you want to do something like this, I'm fucking always open, man.
No, but always the same goes around. The more we help each other, the better. Because, you know the ones that are doing it right and doing the right thing by everyone and the ones that actually care.
Yep.
No, I'm trying to talk to as many of the ones that care. So
sweet.
That's good by me, man. I will catch you soon, mate. Thank you very much. Congratulations on your new place.
Cheers, man.
And keep going, bro. Thank you.
Too easy. Thank you.
Later, man. Alrighty, guys. That was AJ from Smith's Fitness. What a pleasure that was to have him on. Great bits of nuggets in there. For everyone who's watched this and enjoyed it, please subscribe to the channel so you can get notifications on what's going on. Please throw a like and a comment down. Every little bit helps. And again, thank you for joining us today for this great little chit chat. As always, stay safe, stay strong, mix it up. But anyway, stay connected, and most importantly, be formidable.